have given us context of this, but because we wanted to ask, how has religion impacted your identity as a coconut? Or has it, because it doesn't sound particularly like it has, but I don't want to be putting words in your mouth. So, like your identity growing up and just who you are and what you wanted to do with yourself.
With my life. It's a good question as to whether or not the religion aspect has. So growing up, I'll get back to the religion aspect, but I think growing up in a Jewish family, especially being a black man in a white Jewish family, it's been slightly challenging a little bit. I mean, I spoke about some of the challenges earlier when it came to like dating or even going out to events, but these also like the challenges, not even just like an event that I went with my family. I was a camp counselor for 3 years. 3 years a camp counselor, but 6 years involved with the camp. So 3 years as a camper, 3 years as a counselor. And when I started becoming a counselor and like going to some of the day events that we had, at our events it was fine. Security came to know who I was. It was no issue. But there's been a few big major Jewish events that we've had where the different camps they have representatives there. And I'd go as a representative because we had to. And security would, or even just a lot of people would turn and look at me and be like, "Are you lost? Are you meant to be here? Like what's going on?" Like security was a nightmare. I mean, after the first time it happened, I went second time with another friend of mine who's also a coconut, but she was very active in the community, so they actually knew her. And while we're driving in, I'm sitting, and there's a long queue to get in, and I'm sitting there, and she's looking at me, like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just don't want to have to deal with the security again." I mean, a few of these guys have seen me before. It's not like I'm a completely new guy. Like, she's like, you really don't enjoy it. I'm like, I really don't. Like, I feel like I have to fight to plead my case that I'm here for a reason. I'm not here because I just decided, hey, let me gate crash a random event. I'm told to be here. I'm required to be here, so I'm here. And thankfully, over time, eventually that died down quite a bit. But in that period, it was frustrating. Like, half the time I wanted to get out the car and just scream. Not even scream at a person, just scream. Walk off from everyone and just let out a guttural scream and then carry on with my day. Never really did because there's always too many people around. But and I'm pretty certain they'd look at me and be like, "Is he okay? Like, I think he might be on something and don't need that." But it definitely, but all of that just kind of made it, actually at one point, it actually made me feel like I didn't want to go to these events anymore, where I'd be asked, again, by the camp or a friend of mine who's going, it's like, "Hey, I'm going, it's going to be a great event, you should come." And it got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'd rather pass up, eh? I'd make an excuse and be like, "No, sorry, I got this going on instead." And I just didn't want to go because I didn't want to have to deal with that whole mission of trying to get in, even though it had improved a little bit, but there's always the odd instance of maybe they've got a new guy working security who doesn't know me at all.
Yeah.
And then I got to go through this whole all over again. I mean, I think the first real instance I had of this actually was there was an event at one of the shopping centers, and afterwards, so it was the main event, parents, whoever go, no problem, but then there was a party at the end of it for the youngsters, and it's like, "Hey, youngsters, come through, party, jam, it'll be fine." So I went with my cousin, and he walked right on through. I followed him. I got called back, and he had stopped. He was talking to a friend, and he turned back and was like, why are you talking to security? So he came back to find out, and he stood off to the side just listening in, and like they're asking me a million questions like, "What are you doing here? How did you know about this event? Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish?" Which again, it is again, I do understand it was entirely for security, but at the age of like 15, 16, I'm a youngster. I got told as an event. I'm like, I just want to come to the event. I'm not even planning on being here for long. Just want to see what it's all about, and then dip. Like I wasn't going to be there for long anyway, and.
By the way, I think you are being very gracious in saying it was for security reasons. I would argue that if both of you got stopped, different story. Everybody that was getting past the security, there was a checkup. I think you're being very gracious around that, and I applaud you for that because. There does sound like an undercurrent going on there that is absolutely unacceptable.
So I mean, back then I thought maybe there was more to it, but as I grew up, I have friends. Even to this day, I got friends who are involved in that organization, and just like that explain different events. They've had different individuals, but now it's more so of like, hey, let's just stop and be like, hey, if it's more of like if they look at you and you seem like you're being a little shady, a little suspicious, then they're obviously going to come at you no matter what. But in general, especially within the Jewish community, we don't always know who really is a friend and who could be a threat. And so in that regard, so look, in the moment, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Guys, I know what's potting. I can name 3 rabbis if you need me to, which I did. Actually, I named one. They're like, can you just give us one rabbi who could maybe vouch that they at least know you? So I gave them a name. I was like, okay, and you go to their shul. I was like, no, I don't go to their shul, but I know him. And they're like, okay, you can go in. They did let me in. Okay. Because I did mention him, and I was like, listen, I don't go to his shul now, but when I was younger, I did. But he knows me. Trust me, I'm not. You can pat me. I offered for them to pat me down. They didn't want to. They're like, no, we're going to give you that faith. I ended up staying for 5 minutes. The music was horrible. And I was like, nah, I'm fine. I'm going home. But I was like, all of that, just for me to actually want to stay for 5 minutes was just a lot. So growing up, after experiencing a lot of that, I just didn't want to go to these events. Now I'm slightly changed a bit where I don't mind going to the events because again, I've got friends, and I've expressed it to these friends. Like there's times where they're working at that event that I'm going to, and I'll be like, hey, I'm coming. Whatever you do, please be at the front. So like when you see me coming, you can tell whoever's new there, like, hey, he is a friend. If you want, you can stop and just be like, hey, what's your name? Fine, I don't mind being stopped and not being asked what my name is. That's normal. That's an everyday thing. That's fine. But just like let them know, like I'm really not a threat to anyone. And thankfully, it has improved, and they have explained like what's happening, why they do it, and all of that. But back then, to me, it felt like it was more of an unnecessary thing versus now. Whereas now I'd get a lot more of like what's happening in the world and everything. But
it's amazing to see the progress. I think sometimes we underestimate the progress until you've actually seen it.